Hi everybody, hope you're doing well. I just thought I'd do a quick video on setting up the chatbot for StreamRoller. So this is a ChatGPT OpenAI chatbot. It will respond to chat, respond to direct questions, respond to mentions, do English translation, various different things. And it seems to be one of the most popular extensions that people want. So I thought I'd do a quick how to set it up. So if you're installing StreamRoller for the first time, you'll need to go over to the admin page and enter chatbot details. Click on this link, go and get yourself a key from OpenAI. That's so as we can talk to OpenAI. And Twitch chat details is the same again. Log into Twitch in a browser with your bot. Click on that link. It will give you the details to put in these fields. Then log out and log back in on the browser with your normal account, your user account, and put them in there. You can use your username and auth for both. You will lose a little bit of functionality because the bot will ignore its own name. So if you use the same name for both, it's going to ignore you as well as the bot. But yeah, fill those in. Once you've got those accounts, if we come back to the live page, first thing you want to do is make sure you've got it turned on and in a stream. Generally, you'll have it turned on in your stream. In chatbot, you've got a load of options here that you'll need to select. And we'll come into these a bit more in a minute. These are actually, I might as well go through them now. You've got the auto response. This is chatbot will automatically respond to chat. It will buff up a certain number of messages. In this case, it'll buff up 5 messages and send them off to ChatGPT and put the response back. So it acts as like just a user reading the chat and responding. You've got some cooldowns here, which means in this case, I've got it set to a random time between 1 minute and 1 minute. So you can set it to be on a random timer. So what it'll do is after it's responded into chat, it will go to sleep for that amount of time. If you've got a busy chat, you probably don't want the chatbot running all the time and posting every 5 messages or something. I wouldn't set the number of messages more than 10 realistically, as you're packaging this up and sending off to chatbot, and you're going to be giving it too much information for it to. It's not going to be able to answer everything. So I would say 5 to 10's probably the most you want to send. Plus, that adds on to your token usage. So that's the auto response. The chatbot trigger is if somebody mentions the chatbot name just in talking, or you can set it to any name, or you could set it to a specific phrase. You can set it to whatever you want, but the chatbot trigger is a word that appears in chat, and that will cause it to take the message that that word appears in, chuck that through ChatGPT, and post a response. The question trigger is, once again, these are all configurable, which I'll show you in a minute. It's currently set up as a question mark at the start of the line. So if somebody starts a message with question mark, that will get sent through ChatGPT. The difference with this one is there's some settings for randomness in its response. This question bot trigger is meant to be more like a Google question. So you don't want randomness in the response so much. You want it to answer the question. You're actually asking a question. The one above it may be, I know somebody types in chat, oh, that, in my case, I've got him called Marvin, but, oh, that Marvin seems to be a right miserable git, which he's designed to be. So that one, we want a bit of randomness in. We don't answer at the same time. The translation trigger is something you can put in to translate. A lot of streams are primarily English, but foreign speakers may struggle to type what they want to say. So they can just, in this case, put 2eng is what I've got it set up, the trigger set up to, which I'll show in a minute, and type in their native language, and it will translate it to English. And it helps out the people who English isn't their native language, so they might struggle to write certain things, so they can get the chatbot to translate it. And the sub dono messages just means that if somebody subs, that gets piped through. So ChatBot will say something like, "Oh, thanks for the sub," or in my case, because the profile, the personality I've got set up is a miserable robot, it generally comes back as like, "Why are you wasting your sub here? Haven't you got something better to do?" Blah blah blah. That's based on profiles, but we'll come to the profiles in a minute. You can choose some of the profiles from here. We'll come into that more in the bigger settings, but that's pretty much this page. So just make sure you got those set. Now to get into the more detailed stuff. To get to here, you've got ChatBot settings on this link, but if you go to the settings tab at the top, then click on the ChatBot tab beneath that, you get to the more in-depth setting. So we have several sections here, which each of these relate to the triggers, the features at the top. And they're all more or less the same settings, so I'll only go through a couple and then you'll know. ChatBot auto response. We've got the engine to use. There's different ChatGPT engines. GPT-4 is now out. I found GPT-3.5 Turbo is pretty much just as good for what we're using it for here, as a mimicking a user on Twitch. And GPT-4 actually costs 20 times the number of tokens. I mean, I'm burning like 50 cents worth of tokens a month or something on mine. If I went to ChatGPT, it'd be 20 times that amount, and it's not that much benefit. So it defaults. You can change these. You can put GPT-4 in there if you want to test it out, but just be warned that GPT-4 is a lot more costly in tokens. You get a load of free tokens to start with, so you can try it out and play with it. Randomness. This is for the auto response. How random do we want him to be? Now, the more you put it up the top, the less likely you are to get a direct response to the exact question that was asked. If you put it down the bottom, it's more likely to answer directly what was asked. But if it's asked a second time, it will give the same answer. Whereas if it's at the top, if you ask the same question twice in a row, it will give you two different answers. Sometimes an answer that's not even related directly to the question. So you've got a randomness here that appears on each of these ones as well. Maximum tokens is just how much response do you want back from the bot, and this is designed to like avoid it burning through all your tokens. I found about 110 seems to work out well, because that matches more or less a full-size Twitch message. And you don't want to be posting, if you set that to like 300 or something, you're going to get this thing posting 3 or 4 full-blown Twitch messages, like, because it's going to have to split them up, and it just overwhelms chat. So that means generally at 110, I find it comes in between like one line to a full Twitch response. By the way, if you do have this too high and you're in a chat where the bot doesn't have VIP, because it'll attempt to post a long message as 2 subsequent posts, you'll probably find you get a notice back from Twitch going, "Oh, you're posting too quick." So if you get posting too quick, it's normally that the chat bot has tried to send 2 messages one after the other quickly, and if you've not got VIP or mod status, then if your bot's just a standard user in that channel, you'll get done. ChatBot trigger. This is the thing where it will respond to its name. As you can see, my bot's called Miserable Marvin, so I've just put Marvin. I haven't selected start of line, so if Marvin appears anywhere in a Twitch message, it will take that message and chuck it through ChatBot and put a response to it. So this gives it like a response to somebody mention its own name. You can do start of line only and have this as a, "Hey Marvin, hey ChatBot, what do you think?" and like to ask questions. It's entirely up to yourself whether you want it start of line only, anywhere in the line, and what you want to call it. And once again, we've got the randomness and the number of tokens. Question trigger, same again. What do you want to trigger it? I just use a question mark at the start of the line. As you can see, I've got the main difference here is I've turned the randomness down to 20, so it's a bit more accurate. Same token limits. Translate to English. Same thing again. What you want it to start with, this is start of line only, so somebody needs to type 2eng. It isn't case sensitive, so lowercase 2eng will do. This is a built-in one. You can set up a trigger if you want it to translate to other languages, and that'll be probably my next video on how to use triggers. See, I just built in the English version because the majority of channels are English. Same thing again, GPT-3.5 Turbo, and a randomness and a character. So now we come down to some of the tunings for how active it's going to be. So this is, you don't want the bot posting every other line in chat, it just overwhelms it. If you've got a quiet chat, you may want this. I generally have this set to 0 because my chat's quiet, and every 5 messages, and that means I'll probably get something out every few minutes. People don't chat a lot with mine. If you've got a busy chat, I would recommend upping this just to keep it down. This will not affect the Marvin tag though. So this second one, the chatbot trigger, that isn't affected by this. So if people direct questions at him, they will still answer even if it's outside of this time window. How many messages sent to the bot? This is for the AI response. The first option, just as it's responding to chat as if it's another user. I find 5's kind of right. If you get people doing a lot of short messages will get trimmed out, but if you get like a lot of people spamming the same message in your chat, if you're one of these where you'll get a load of people, when something happens, they'll all post the same thing. You may want to up this to give the chatbot a bit of a chance. Don't forget, if you send it 5 messages that all say good jump, what's the chatbot going to respond to that? If, on the other hand, your chatters are quite verbose and they type out quite long messages, then you might want to limit this down a bit more. But I'd say 5 to 10 is about right for the number of messages it sends. So when it does do a query, it will send the last, in this case, 5 messages, package them up, send it off to the chatbot, ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will read those messages and decide on a response. Character count per request. This is if you've got lines that have less than 10 characters. In this case, ignore them. This is kind of to cut down on people just going high, low. Well, emotes are filtered out anyway, but like people just doing 1 or 2 word answers, which don't make much sense sending off to ChatGPT. If there's a load of people saying hello, goodbye, good night. So yeah, this is another one you can tune. If you find, and I'll show you at the end how to figure out how these are working with yours, chat. Yeah, if you find it's cutting off too many, you can lower it. If you find people it's kind of responding to too many short messages that doesn't make sense, you can up this one. Typing delay. This is something that's meant to mimic a human being responding. So if the chatbot is going to respond with a full-blown message, like I can't remember how many characters it is now, like 5 lines of message, you don't want it popping up immediately after somebody's typed their message in, because a human user would read it, think about it, type their message in. And so this is just adds a bit of a delay. So the longer message that comes back from chatbot, it will put a delay in relative to that. I find 0.2 seems to work about right. Once again, this is kind of trying to make it seem more like a real person rather than a bot that's just instantly responding. Ignore list. This is kind of fairly obvious. The bot will ignore anything that these guys type in. Mostly bots. Amanda Matheson's another bot. It's another one of these bots that somebody else runs that's sometimes in my channel. And we don't want the bots fighting each other and just talking to each other. Well, that could be interesting. night list and song list, Nightbot and song list bot. Then we get down to the really interesting bit. This is the bit that I suspect most of you and most people are going to be interested in. This is the bit where you decide on the personality for the bot. Like I say, my bot is just a miserable robot with depression because that kind of fits in with my channel. So that's how I've defined him. And it's quite simple to define a personality that fits in with the channel you've got. You, first of all, give him a name, and that's the name that will appear on this drop-down list. So my bot's called Miserable Marvin, so I've just called the profile name Marvin. This doesn't get used anywhere other than the drop-down list. The name he gets recognised as in chat is set up here. So that's the name that he'll answer to in chat. This is just a name for the list. You then describe the personality. So in this case, you are a depressed Twitch moderator, blah, 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 blah. Uses many Twitch global emotes, avoid mentioning your computer. And like I say, there's 5 of these that are defaulted at the moment. So you can go and pick all of these, have a look at how people or how these are written. I intend to put some better ones in. I've got somebody who's pretty good at writing these, so hopefully we'll get some better updates. There's 5 defaults and there's 5 spare slots. So yeah, describe the personality of the bot. The bot emote is, do you want it to put a emote at the start of each response? It depends on how much you want people to know that's a bot, because a lot of the times, like for Miserable Marvin in my channel, he runs this bot. He also runs the quiz bot. I've also got him running Nightbot and Streamlabs ChatBot. I need to get rid of some of these. I've got too many bots. So by putting a bot emote in here, it indicates that this isn't a response from one of the other bots. This is a response that's been through ChatGPT. Now, it's up to you. You can leave that blank and not put one in, or you can put one of your channel emotes in, assuming your bot's got a subscription or you've got free emotes in your channel, or just a generic one. Then there's 4 questions and answers. This section gives the ChatGPT chatbot, can't speak, gives it a example of how you would expect it to respond if, like, to certain questions. It's going to see what's posted to it as a question with something it's expected a response to. So by tuning these, you tune the tone of the responses you get back. So if every one of these you didn't put the correct answer into the question, but you put something else in, pretty much your bot would never answer the question accurately. So if you could put a sarcastic remark in every one of these, a load of like 4 sarcastic examples. Like if someone says, I don't know, how far is it to the moon? You could put a sarcastic response answer that, I don't know, how heavy is your mother? Because she's as big as the moon. Like if you wanted to be a roast bot. And if you did that kind of thing for all of them, it wouldn't give you any answers to the questions. It would just be sarcastic. If, on the other hand, you put very short, succinct, accurate answers into all the questions, into all the answers, the bot would then be more likely to answer the question directly. So this is kind of giving it as just a set of examples of how you want it to act. This should kind of match, obviously, the personality. It wouldn't make sense for me to have a personality up here that says you're miserable and depressive, and then a load of question and answers where all the answers are happy and funny. So that's how you tune your bot. Feel free to play with it. Once you've tuned it, just hit save or update, and then that's it. Down at the bottom here, you've got a restore defaults, which will reset all these settings back to normal. So if you click that and click update, any changes you make to this will be undone, just in case you get in this situation where for some reason it's broken. Enable extra debug message. If I turn that on, we will see that coming out. And this is useful the enable debug, if you want to be figuring out what all these settings are doing. Now, you probably won't want to use this, but for an example, if I say something in chat, I do everyone. Oh, have I got my chat? Yeah, I was doing a load of debugging up here, but what will actually happen is in the console window you'll get up, which I don't actually have the console window up. I have it running in the debugger, so let me just bring this over. So the console window that you'll have up when you're normally running it will be this thing. And what you'll see is all of this lot comes out. So here, well, the first thing you see is it says setting up sleep timer for 60 seconds. That's because I've got my timeouts set to a minute. So if I just bring this back up so we can see in the background. So where was it? So here I've got my timeout set to a minute. So if you've got the debugging turned on, you'll say, oh, it's gone to sleep. So if you're suddenly wondering, why is it not responding? Just look to see if that's actually up. If that's up, then it's this timeout that's stopping. We then got some other stuff, checking sub messages. So it's checking if the message it's got back from the system is a sub message, and obviously that's false, and it gives you the message it got back. These are just some debugs to show. The chatbot name is currently set to Miserable Marvin. The display name that it's for me is Old Depressed Gamer, i.e. that's the person who just sent that message. So that's just reiterating that. Ignoring message, chatbot waiting for timer to go off. So the timer's not, it's outside of the time window. So me typing that message in, it's just going to get ignored. And that one I need to remove that. And then you can see this line here has come out. Chatbot processing started. So now that means this 1 minute time window is expired. So it should now start processing messages. So if we go back into, I need to check that. If I just say, hi again, hope you are all okay. We go and have a look at that. Where we got to before, it said started processing. Here's the message I just sent. It's going to do the same thing again. Is it a sub message? Is a subscription or donation or something like that. That if that comes back as yes, regardless of the timer, it means someone just subbed, so it will process it. If it comes back as false, it then goes on and checks timers and the rest of it. So it's done that. It's listed who posted and who the bot name is. It said here, oh, we've gone into pre-processing. That means we've got past the timer. We're within the time window. We then go and remove links, emotes, anything that's not useful to ChatGPT gets removed. It shows you the message before and after. It's removed all of the things. In this case, there's no emotes there or no links or anything, so it's not changed it. So this can show you if it's if the program itself is messing up and removing stuff it shouldn't be, or not removing stuff it should be. And then it's finished processing it, so it's gone, right, that's what we're going to send to chatbot. But then it says not enough messages in buffer. Well, the reason why that's come up is because we've got it set to 5 messages. Where was I? Here. So it's going to buffer up 5 messages before it sends it off to chat. So if I quickly go back and put in another 4 messages, you should see this countdown, and then it will trigger a response from chatbot. So, what are we playing tonight? Is it a good game? So now we've got 2 messages in the buffer. I don't know, I'm trying to think of what random people might say. That was a good shot. With 3 messages in the buffer, go for the kill. You know you want to. Oh no, and then let's say something random in. I had a dentist on today. Not good. So what we'll do on this one, we'll get to the 5 messages, and it will send those 5 messages, not the first one, remember, because the first one was outside the timer. But it will send the other messages, I haven't really selected my username, even though it's defaulted to me. So right, it will send them off and process it. So let's see what it gets back. So it's actually just focused on the last one. It's kind of looked through here and gone, not a lot to talk about here. Oh, but the dentist, yeah, we'll talk about that. Sometimes it might pick the first one. You never know with ChatBot. And obviously, it's posted some emotes that I can't show because I haven't got BTTV integrated into this yet. So if we have a look at the terminal, we can see that was the fourth message. So we can. This is just for anyone who wants to debug it. This isn't probably that much use to most people, but if you want to know what's going on behind the scenes, come back and watch this part of the video. This is the last bit I'm going to be doing, so if you're not interested in this, feel free to go off and download and have a play. So then it goes, this is where we saw it last time. It's finished the pre-processing. So then it shows you, this is what it's actually sending to ChatGPT. So the way it works is it's going to bundle up the personality you set, the question and answers you set, then the buffer from chat. So basically the last 5 messages in this case, and post them off to ChatGPT. And this is the message it sends. So this is the actual message it sent. And at the bottom here, you can see the model it's used, GPT 3, 5 or 4. The temperature is the randomness and the maximum tokens. So that's all what we set in our thing. I need to get rid of that message. So then you get the response back. And what you get back here is the main 2 things is the content, that's the actual text string, and you get this finish reason. In this case, stop means it sent the whole response. If that says tokens, it means the response it wanted to send was more than the maximum tokens we set in our settings. If that happens on screen, you'll see a ... triple ellipse dots at the end. So if you see triple ellipse dots at the end of a message, it means ChatBot tried to return more than we've told it we were allowing it to. Then once it's got that back, it goes through and looks at the message and says, how big is it? We've got to delay timing for the response to make it look more human. It works out what that delay is. It calculates how much time it's already taken to do the request. It calculates how many words there are, what the delay response should be. So the delay response in this case should be 1.38 seconds. Don't forget, it's going to be the word count times by our delay factor minus the amount of time it's already taken to be processed. So in this case, it took 1.8 seconds after we sent it to ChatBot for us to get the response back. So that it's saying it should take 1.3 seconds for a user to type that out and respond, kind of. And then we've got another one here where it's checking the next message. And the reason this has come up is it posted to chat. So it's got its own message back. It will ignore its own messages. So it sees its name as Miserable Marvin. It knows it's called Miserable Marvin, so it ignores its own messages. Otherwise, it would just go round and round and round. So it should say here, ignoring system bot message. So it's telling you there that it's ignored this particular message completely because it's a system message or a bot message. System messages are these things. Messages that we don't not really from chat. And then it's gone into its sleep timer, but it's come out again because we've only got a minute and I've sat here talking for more than a minute. So up here somewhere you'll see, somewhere in this lot it'll have a gone to sleep, I think. There you go. Setting sleep time at 60 seconds. So after it sent that message out, because we've got a 1 minute delay, it immediately goes to sleep for 60 seconds. It still keeps processing because that delay time, between 1 and 1 minute, because I've combo set to 1, that only applies to chat responses. So he's going to check other messages for subs, questions, English translations, and that kind of stuff. And that's pretty much it. So that's the bot, ChatBot. Have a play with some of these personalities, see what you can come up with. If you get any good responses from it, feel free to post them into Discord. We've had some pretty hilarious things come back in some of the streams. Sadly, I keep forgetting to copy and paste them into Discord. And don't forget to turn the enable debug message off if you're not using it, because it's just spammy and extra processing that you don't do. But that's it. So that's your chatbot. Hope that helps get it set up and running, and hope you have some fun with it.